DDG episode 138. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How's it going, Dave? How's it going? I'm excited. I'm awake for this, even though it was a long day at work.
Yeah, I had a 12-hour turnaround at work, too, today, so this will be fun. So for those of you that think I yawn a lot already on stream, it'll be more. However, we might be a little bit more entertained today, a little bit more attentive, because we have I think it's his fourth time?
I think so.
Yeah, because I know it's been 2 times with me, and he filled in 1 time while I was on vacation, and he might be filling in another time when I'm on vacation.
Probably.
But we are joined by a co-host from the darkness, Josh Langford.
Hey, boys. How you doing?
Good. So for those of you that maybe haven't listened before, Josh, myself, and Michael all did a show, PS Nation. Almost 3 years ago now, for a while, or longer than that, maybe.
3 for us, 4 for him.
Yeah. So, and then Josh had been podcasting prior to that for over 10 years, right?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. So he is.
Oh yeah, actually, if you count everything,
yeah,
it was probably like 10 or 12 years at least. Yeah.
So he is kind of in semi-retirement. He still apparently listens to the show because we get a text message like, "Hey, dumbass, you messed this up, and I'm gonna come on the show and correct you." He didn't say it like that, but he wished he could. But he was still being nice.
No, I think that's exactly verbatim what he said.
I think it is actually exactly what I said. Yeah.
So when do you guys record again? When do you dumbasses record again? Because you said some dumb stuff last week, and I got to correct you. We'll get to that in a little bit, I guess. But if this is your first time listening to Digital Days Gaming, I'm sorry. Not really, but kind of. But you could check out all of our links in the show notes. We live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming, where if you have Amazon Prime, you can merge it with Twitch, and you get something called Prime Gaming, which you get a bunch of free stuff. There's I think you get access to the Overwatch 2 beta right now. There's a bunch of skins and some other stuff that you can get access to, as well as sometimes just games themselves. But you also get a free Twitch subscription that you can use on a streamer of your choice, and hopefully that streamers are us. If not, please let it be somebody. If for some reason you don't want to give it to us, let it be somebody. Don't let Amazon keep their free $2.50 that they could give to another streamer.
Yeah, fuck Jeff Bezos in this house.
And then you can also listen to us on podcast services. If you're able to leave us a review, that's helpful. With words, it's even more helpful. It's been a little while since we got a review, so anybody that drops a review, we'll read it on the show. Please review. But other than that, everything else, like I said, is in the show notes. The Patreon is in there. The Twitch is in there. The subscribing to the show is in there. Teesprings is there. All that stuff. So. And we're going to jump into some news. And I feel like a lot of this news on this document is just a follow-up to the previous couple of weeks.
Yeah, most of it is just we were talking about stuff and then it actually happened.
And don't worry, Josh will have his time, but we just want to kind of go through these news bullet points, and we'll talk to him more during playing and watching, but I think he'll have some stuff to say about some of these news stories.
I got stuff to say.
Yeah, we're just tying up some loose ends, Lollipop CHainsaw remake is official. So Dragami Games announced that Lollipop CHainsaw is happening. It was previously announced, but it was very vague. But it sounds like it is happening next year. Very little details other than it is being remade with a more realistic, updated art style and a new soundtrack and score because they weren't able to license all the music that was previously in the game. There's about 15 licensed songs. They didn't get into specifics in which ones they didn't get, but because they felt the need to say they're having a new soundtrack and score means they're probably missing a good chunk of all those games. This led to James Gunn, who is the writer on the game, Suda51, who's the creative director of the game, and Tara Strachan, who is the lead actress, to basically come out and say they have nothing to do with this game. They were not informed about it. No one's followed up with them. This is its own thing. James Gunn did clarify that he's not for or against it. He just wanted to make sure people knew this is not, anything to do with him at this moment because no one's reached out to him. So they kind of just gut punch you with the announcement. I just reacquired Lollipop CHainsaw on PS3 just last week because it's been on my list of games to rebuy. But yeah, this is the monkey paw curling sort of scenario where it's like, hey, we're remaking it. You love that colorful art style? It's going to be realistic. Did you like that soundtrack? Well, we can't afford the whole soundtrack. And just getting hit with it. Like, I kind of understand, like, you might not need the voice actress anymore if you're just going to use the audio from the previous one. I would assume, maybe, or if that means they're going to just redub the whole game. I have no idea. You don't really need Suda51 because the work has already been done, depending on what they plan to do, and James Gunn already wrote the game. So
yeah, this is like that narrative like we've been talking about of like, okay, we bought a company or we bought an IP and it's like, here's the file box with the thumb drives in it and the game just runs and then you own it. So I guess that you can clean it up. And I'd be really curious, like, can the voice actress say anything? Like does she get any more money if this sells, like, and her voice is in there? But at the same time, like, I'd be very curious, like, what the remake is, what the contract said, you know, like, that would be like super fascinating to me. Because, like, how many other boxes are like this when you purchase a company or you purchase an IP, you know?
I could see her taking somebody to court if they decide to use her voice in this again.
But she already got paid
without her permission.
But she already got paid, and all they're doing is using an asset that she already used, and she got compensated for it.
Depends on the contract.
Yeah,
and it was before the union stuff. Like,
it's not a television show, Josh. There's not a syndication for video games.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, we need you to say 10,000 words, and here's X amount of dollars. Okay, done. We did what you said you're gonna do. What we do with those words, we own them now. You know what I'm saying?
But you can always take somebody to court.
Oh, for sure. Especially
if win or not, I don't know. But
right.
She could always just take them to court and say, I don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah, or is it to become a thing where her name's just not in the credits anymore?
Right.
Like, it's like, hey, we own the lines that were recorded. Who knows how that works? They might end up fixing it because this all sounds relatively fresh, and it sounds like a studio that was just formed announcing their first project to get people interested to work for them and also get investment money in, because, you know, James Gunn's name is significantly larger than when he made this game. Suda51's name is significantly larger than when this game was made. So you know,
I think I could be wrong because I thought it was Michael, but we found out like last week or 2 weeks ago when we talked about it wasn't. You reviewed this, Josh, right? We can't go look. It doesn't exist anymore.
No, I did not.
Okay.
No, I did not.
Okay.
Yeah, this was 2011.
Yeah, no, but I bought it. I have it. Like, I bought it back then, and I never opened it. It's sitting in a box.
Okay.
It's so valuable now.
I know. I heard. That's why I ran over to grab. I would look to see if I had it on the shelf so I could just.
And then he typed it into eBay real quick.
But the idea that being remade with a more realistic, updated art style, all that just sounds
Kills
like a
it.
13 debacle all over again.
Which I was going to put in the news. 13 is being remade yet again.
Remade, yes.
Yeah, they're remaking the remake because so many people were upset.
Yeah, and I feel that Lollipop Chainsaw, the idea that, we're going to update the art style and it's going to have new music, it's going to be that same debacle all over again. Everybody's going to be like, this is not what I signed on for. This is not what I wanted. I want the original, you know, or something that looks like the original.
But I just feel like this how do you say it, Michael? Dragami. Like,
it's a new studio, so I haven't even really heard their name.
But it's like one of these things. Like, obviously they own the IP or they purchased the IP, and they're just trying to. I don't want to say the word cash grab because if it was a cash grab, they would just release it as it is and just like stick it in a computer and see if it runs better on the next gen consoles just by default by uncapping the frame rate or whatever. But it sounds like they're doing some stuff to it. So
yeah.
But they most likely don't. It's the music licensing is the big issue there.
Yeah, music was kind of important in that game. Not important, but it was very much the vibe. I mean, James Gunn wrote it, so knowing him, he probably was like, this scene goes with this song, this scene goes with this song, and then had to go out and get that music.
So, Josh, let me ask this then, in terms of what you're thinking about the voice actress aspect. So we know that Last of Us Part 1 remake is coming out in September. Is Troy Baker getting more money for this remake coming out 11, 12 years after all the voice recording was already done?
It's a good question.
Because it's the same concept, right?
In a way,
they're taking the audio files and putting them on a shinier game.
Well, I guess I could see your argument there, but this is not Last of Us. This is definitely not Last of Us.
It like
where Last of Us 2, and then wait, did Last of Us 2 get updated yet, or did
no.
doing that? I'm so out of it.
Yeah.
They studied the frame rate in the patch.
Yeah. Okay. So with the Uncharted games, when they got updated, did Nolan North get paid again?
I don't know.
I think the contracts now or more recent are much better than they were.
Yeah, when Nolan North signed on to be Nathan Drake, did he? Was it a 7-game contract plus remakes? No,
no, yeah.
But now, post Voice Actors Union, that probably is in the contract of like, if you use my voice for this property, I get residuals off of that, because that was the big thing. That's why we had some. That's why Life is Strange 2 didn't have like Ashley Birch. Because there was a strike, and then they couldn't, get her to do her role again. So a lot of stuff like that has changed.
Well, the ironic part about it is the one that sticks out in my head all the time was Peter Dinklage doing the Ghost in Destiny, and then he didn't want to keep doing it, and they had Nolan North do it, and they re-recorded all of his lines. Like they went back and he went over all of his stuff, and then also Nolan North, when Nathan Fillion, who was Cade. And the game decided to kill Kate off. At that point in time, I don't know. I think there's a percentage of the reason why Cade was killed off in the game was because Nathan Fillion wasn't going to be the voice actor going forward anymore for that character. So Bungie was like, well, okay, we'll just get rid of the character then. And Nolan North did the little bit of voice audio that he had in the campaign where his character was killed off as Cade. So I remember walking out of that room at E3 like, that's not, and then the PR guy's like, I can't say anything. So it's super interesting how those things work, and again, circling it back, Peter Dinklage he committed to what he thought was, I did my however long it takes, I did my 2 weeks of voice lines for you, I'm done. And they're like, no, we want you to come back, it's a game as a service, like we need you to do. And he's like, I'm not doing all that. And they're like, well, we've got a plan. And he's like, I don't care what your plan is, I'm not doing it.
Especially they got him early Game of Thrones, and by the time they needed him for more, Game of Thrones had fully taken off, right? There's no going back for that.
So
but when it comes to Lollipop Chainsaw, like as soon as they mention like a realistic graphic style, it's just like the game was really colorful, like for like kind of a dark zombie game, but it had like a lot of things going, and then the soundtrack's kind of killer. Like I understand why, based on their contracts, they wouldn't need to contact Suda, James Gunn, or Tara Strong. That's somewhat understandable, but a little suspicious. But like everything else is just like shit. Like you're gonna ruin this, not ruin the soundtrack. Could be better, who knows? But like you're going for a nostalgia play. You kind of need those things to be there, So
and the super crappy part is like I think we talked about it. Like, oh, maybe they'll use this as a basis to decide if they want to make another game, and if like to make a different version or like a sequel. And if this doesn't do well, is it because the music isn't there, or the color from this isn't there, or the heart of the game isn't there, or it's because people don't want a Lollipop game 12 years later?
Yeah, all I know as someone who just reacquired it, I'm happy I got it now, because if this thing, like at first I was like, oh,
if this game tanks, the price is going to go even higher.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like at first I was worried like, oh, the price is going to go low. I overpaid, and then they announced like realistic graphics, not a full soundtrack. I'm like, cool. I made an investment now, as opposed to being like bummed out that like yours, I overpaid.
Yours
for
isn't
something.
Sealed like Josh's.
No, mine is not sealed. Yeah, that's why I'm keeping my Switch games sealed until I'm actually ready to play them.
That's a good idea.
So that is my.
But yours
plan.
isn't. Josh is not sealed on purpose. It's just that he never played it.
No, well,
but that's what I'm gonna do too. Like
when I got into the PS3 era, I started to realize, I was like, you know what? If I'm not ready to play this, I'm just gonna leave it sealed.
Mm-hmm.
because why open it up? Like you get it and you open it up and you're like, yeah, and then you don't play it and you find out 5 years later, well, shit, if I had kept that sealed, I could have made a lot more money off it at some point.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm just like that. There's not even manuals anymore.
Yeah.
Like there's not even manuals, so there's even less reason to open them. Like half the fun of opening games is like looking at the manual and seeing all the stuff that like might be in there. But now I'll just keep it sealed till I'm actually ready to play.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next story, which I have to actually look at the thing. All right, this is stuff I don't give a shit about, but I figured Dave and Josh are here, so we might as well talk about it. Nikon announced a new RoboCop and Terminator game. So when it comes to the Terminator game, it's going to be a survival game with its own original story. No gameplay was shown, just a little bit of a teaser of a T something thousand. Help me out.
I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. Like the most common, the most common is T1000, yes. But that's a villain.
Yeah, it was a T1000. No date or gameplay shown. Yeah, sure. The one I'm actually interested in is RoboCop is getting a game called RoboCop Rogue City, and it's starring Peter Weller. So they are using his likeness for the game. A brief trailer was shown. It looks like a AA kind of quality game, but I don't think you need anything really too much more for a RoboCop game. This is coming out June 2023. Looks like it's just, first-person shooter set in, Detroit. So Dave's happy. And but yeah, first off, I had no idea there was a studio called Nikon, Nacon. Did not ring a bell at all, but they're doing Terminator and RoboCop. So 20th Century Fox is still kind of just issuing out.
Yeah, like you can make a Terminator game,
Fox.
Sure. You can make a Terminator game, sure.
I'd have to look up if that's actually Fox.
No, wow, no. Well, the original RoboCop or the original Terminator was like Orion Pictures, I think.
Yeah, but everything's owned by everybody
which is
now.
Yeah, I don't know who bought them or what they are now.
The funny part is, as soon as you say that, I can see that logo with the words and the font and the stars behind it or whatever. Like,
yep. I haven't seen the last two Terminator movies, so I have no idea what they are now at this point.
Skydance, I guess, own them currently. So yeah, Skydance. So like the Tom Cruise production company he partly owns, I guess maybe owns them. I don't know. The Skydance, me and Dave
Cameron own it?
No, I don't think he has some ownership on it, but the actual like rights, like I don't think they have to approve anything or run thing by James Cameron anymore for Terminator.
Isn't he part of Skydance? I thought.
Oh, he might be. Skydance is like a bunch of different Hollywood people running that. But yeah, we're gonna get a RoboCop and Terminator game, in the next year and maybe two years.
What's considered a survival game? Because I don't really know how that works for Terminator.
Well, you're being hunted and you have to survive. How about that?
If they can get the Arnold likeness and then just do the first movie, like that first movie was a survival horror game.
No, yeah, I'm trying to figure out typically the last couple Terminator games you've played as the Terminator.
Yeah, no, this one you were playing.
You're gonna be hunted.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. You're a group in John Connor's resistance force in the future. So it's like in the middle of the apocalypse or post-apocalypse world, trying to do stuff. But it makes sense to do Terminator as a survival horror game like those. I forget the Friday the 13th game, the Evil Dead game, did well.
Predator had Terminator stuff in it. I think they had a Terminator pack.
To be honest, they're whoring out the Terminator thing. Terminator's been in Mortal Kombat. I forget what else recently as well.
But I think they'd spend a lot less money if they got Robert Patrick.
That would probably be cheaper. Yeah, that would probably be cheaper.
But,
yeah.
I mean, I like him. I love the stuff he's been in recently. Well, he was in Peacemaker. I'm sure you guys watched that, right?
Yeah, I've watched Peacemaker.
No, it's on my list. On my list.
Oh my gosh, you have to watch it.
I don't like John Cena.
I am.
But I like James Gunn, so it's
I'm not a wrestling guy. You gotta watch it though. It's
Yeah, so Josh and
one
I
of the
have
best
no
shows
like
on
no
TV.
attachment to or against John Cena.
Yeah.
We look at John Cena as an actor. Michael's like, that's a
No.
wrestler.
Well, I look at John
Not
Cena as an
true.
actor too.
Or is it?
So the problem was when I went into Suicide Squad, I was like, this wrestler guy, but he won me over in Suicide Squad, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's great. And then Peacemaker is just beyond great. It's one of the best shows.
It's on my list of stuff to watch one day when I just have nothing to
you
do,
can
and I'll
totally
probably
knock
binge
it out.
watch the whole
Yeah,
thing.
you can knock it out in an afternoon for sure. I think it's only like 6 episodes. So
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
And Robert Patrick is amazing in it.
yeah,
Robert Patrick's amazing in everything
Yeah, he
that
is.
he does. But Dave,
no, I mean this sounds interesting. I tried recently to go back and watch the first RoboCop, and I really couldn't get past the first 20 or 30 minutes for some reason. And maybe it was just the mentality I had at that time, but that movie was very cheesy.
in a good way though, I think.
Yeah, I just trying to get through it, but it was just kind of one of those like what they got away with when they did it. I was like, wow. In terms of like the rating and everything like that, because I forgot like that movie came out like as long ago as it did, and the stuff that was in it, like comparatively to now, like obviously it's different. So, but
Can he get Kurtwood Smith to be in this game? I know he's got the 90 show coming on. I like get Red Foreman like back in this thing. I would be down for that. I know he would be, but we don't know where this takes place in the timeline, so he could
I
still
just
be
saw
alive.
him in something recently. I can't think of what it was. And I was shocked. I was like, man, he's looking old.
It's perfect though. I can't wait for the 90 show because he's going to be like age appropriate. Like they lined up the timeline perfect. What were you gonna say, Dave? Before I started talking
no,
about
you
Kurtwood
could. It was
Smith?
I lost whatever I was gonna say. So, but this is similar to releasing this with a box in a box with Terminator or RoboCop on it. People are gonna pick it up. Like this is kind of like a brand recognition. Like, what, another RoboCop game? Like, yeah, I have to buy it, of course.
Yeah, I would have more faith in the RoboCop game because I feel like that franchise hasn't been butchered as much as Terminator has gone through in the last like 10 years. Because we're probably like 3 bad Terminator movies in a row. I mean, you can argue like maybe like 6 in a row at a certain point, but I the RoboCop game is interesting. I just hope people don't have like crazy high expectations. I kind of imagine like a AA game. Like I'm surprised THQ Nordic doesn't have their name on this thing. Because it sounds like right down their alley.
I just have this like massive visualization of them like overdoing the holster opening on his thigh like all the time. Like
What has THQ Nordic released anything recently? I haven't heard their name in forever.
well, it's.
Are they
I think you'd be
still
surprised what they own.
a thing?
That's the problem.
Well,
They-
yeah.
I mean, they are the biggest game publisher in the world, not by dollar, but by like amount of studios owned. But yeah, I can't think of anything that they've released that has been on my radar.
Seriously.
I know Destroy All Humans 2 is coming soon. That remaster. Saints Row's coming out in a month or two.
Oh, that's under them too. Yeah. I
So,
don't think of that. I think of Vicarious Visions.
no, that's Activision.
Vicarious
Volition.
Vision, not Vicarious Volition.
Yeah.
One
Oh,
of the
Volition.
Vs.
Yeah. Volition is THQ Nordic now.
THQ Nordic has
or
a digital
Silver.
showcase for August 12th of 2022.
Wow.
There we go.
Okay.
When I'm Googling, I was trying to Google like released games recently or something like that. And
All right then. I can't wait for them to put me in my place.
They did a showcase last year, and people walked away like that could have been an email. So it's not like the best track record for their showcases. But all right, Dave, you're gonna have to like steer us on this one. Skull and Bones has a release date.
I wish I had known you guys were doing this. I would have worn my Skull and Bones shirt from E3.
see, Josh
that I
played it.
didn't
I think
realize-
Josh played it too.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And that was
At
one
least
of the
2
other
years.
things.
Yeah.
Yes. I still have. I've got that.
That navy
hour-long
blue and red
video.
Skull and Bone shirt, right?
Well, no, it was a black shirt with white.
Yeah, I think I have two.
White writing.
Yeah, I think I have two.
didn't realize, like, right in the middle of it.
Oh,
it's a middle finger like that, like that's a phony middle finger.
I don't remember what I did with that shirt because, like, I used to wear those shirts. Like, I used to wear a lot of my gaming shirts, like, underneath my polos that I'd wear to work. And then one day I was doing something, like, fixture-wise, and I took my polo off, and somebody's like, "Is that a middle finger in your shirt?" And I'm like, like while I'm at work, and I was like, "Oh no!" I was like,
yeah, I had no idea it had that, and I think one of my kids pointed it out. They were like, "Why does your shirt have a middle?" I'm like, "What? It doesn't have a." Oh shit, it does.
So, Skull and Bones went into, like, development hell, like, after, like, 2018 or 2019, and I think some of it was from us playing it, like, from the press playing it and getting a little bit of hands-on, and people are like, "Hey, this is really cool." The concept is interesting, but there's got to be more, right? And I think Ubisoft was like, "Yeah, there's more," and then they went back in the room like, "No, we don't have any more." So
what it felt like.
Yeah, because, like, can a game that somebody asked me, like, "Oh, can you, like, explain what you think Skull and Bones was going to be?" I said, "Did you ever play Assassin's Creed Black Flag?" They're like, "Oh yeah, it was great." I go, "You remember the ship combat?" "Uh-huh." I go, "Yeah, that's Skull and Bones." And they're like, "That's it?" And I was like, on the surface, I think that's what Ubisoft was trying to do, is, like, peel off that Assassin's Creed Black Flag ship combat and just say, "Here's a game." And they could have done that in, like, 2016, 2017, 2018. I think they could have got away with it. You can't get away with it in 2022 now. Not charging $60 or $70 for sure. No. Because there was
Which was the debate we had last week.
There was a huge conversation around if this game was going to be free to play, because Ubisoft had done a ton of changing of their direction, and they had tried to go, and they still are trying to go heavily into free to play. So they are not going free to play, and they are going full $70. And I walked away from watching this stream, or this. I watched the YouTube replay of it, and I'm actually less likely to check this out, because this, literally watching this the video, I feel like The Sims is meeting pirates. Like, you have to pick up contracts, which is fine. You can then, earn money or earn loot, which is fine. But then you have to, like, manage your crew and upgrade your ship and make a new ship and keep your crew happy and make sure. Which is
what they have always promised all the way back.
Initially they had classes. Like, it was like ship combat in classes. You had heavy tank style ships that could do a lot of damage but moved really slow, and you still have those, like, that core foundation is still there of, like, the lightweight agile ship doesn't do as much damage but it can move, and and all that stuff. And you drop your you get sunk and you lose all your stuff, and you might be able to go back and pick it up, or somebody else can pick it up. Like, that's all still there, but, like, I don't know if I want to worry about, like, when I'm in the middle of a combat, like, trying to get into combat, like, is my crew happy? Do they have enough bananas? Are they going to get scurvy? Like, I don't know if I want that. And the topper on top of all of it is it comes out 2 days before God of War.
A day.
Before God of War, so, like, I just worry. I worry about this game, and it's one of those things where, like, would you have been just better off waiting till January or February? But there's a lot in there to unpack. I hope that they have some betas, or some alphas or demos for us to play and check out and test their servers. It's just because it looks to me like they went too far. Like, yeah, we wanted more, but, like, this is too far. There's a lot of trading and materials and swapping things back and forth, and then you got the PvP versus PvE, that if you mess up that PvE versus PvP, your game is done. Like, if you feel like all of a sudden you run into, like, a level 30 ship and you're a level 2 and he just runs right through you, you're like, all right, turn off, delete. So, like, I don't know. It'll have to be something that I probably play a little bit, but I'm just concerned. Like, I'm just concerned. Like, I hope that they have a Ubisoft Forward scheduled in September, and I hope that they maybe, like, are playing it live and commentating over it a little bit, so you can kind of see. Like, that would be the ideal situation, 2 or 3 people playing and kind of talking over it. But I also don't want to watch 20 minutes of that on a Ubisoft Forward. But
I don't know. I just remember sitting there when we were playing it, and like we're sitting at that splash screen that we're waiting, and it's a dude in a big chair on an island, like a big pirate dude, and he's sitting on some island. And we all started asking, we're like, so does this mean we get off the ship? And like, is that our island? Do we get to? And we're throwing all these scenarios at them, and they're like, well, we're here to talk about the
classes and ships and ship combat.
Yeah. I think that threw them completely. They were like, shit.
Yeah, and that was some of the stuff that already bothered.
They all want to do this.
Yeah, and that's some of the stuff that bothered me on the ship-to-ship combat, where like I get it, like that. It's one of those things where like you and this is some of the problem I have with racing games, where you go a little bit too simulation of like you're not flying in the correct direction of the wind, you don't have your mast fully up, like you don't have your sail at a 47 degree angle, you have it at a 45 degree angle, you're gonna go slower. Like that's the part of like I just want to like it seems like it's getting to that point, because it was at that point when we were playing, and then it's like like I'm worried that like, oh, your crew's not good enough to make sure your angles are correct for your speed to go right because you didn't feed them. Or you skimped them on the contract, and and they showed like you getting overthrown by your crew if they're unhappy. So that's the part of where like I said, it's kind of like feels like there's this Sims aspect to it. Of like, I don't want to manage somebody's lifestyle. I want to make a big ass boat and I want to blow stuff up.
Yeah, I didn't see the video. I think I looked and I saw the video was super long, and I was like, I don't have time for this shit. And I looked at the pictures, the screenshots, and I was like, ooh, those locations look really cool.
And I feel like the only time you get off the boat is to interact with merchants and pick up more contracts, and then you get back on the boat. But you also like they talked about like your pirate level, like your level, your prestige level of like based on how you get the more, I don't know what the right word is, the more hierarchy you have, the better contracts you get. So you're managing all these levels of like, am I a good captain? Do I take care of my crew? Am I a high enough pirate to get cool stuff? To like it's like I'm like,
all right.
That sounds overwhelming.
Can I name myself Steed and be a gentleman pirate?
I don't know.
You guys aren't watching Our Flag Means Death.
At
all.
Not.
Oh my gosh. That's another one. Add it to your list right now. You have to watch that.
I didn't expect homework for this week's episode, Josh.
Taika Waititi wrote, directed, or did he? No, he wrote.
I guess I didn't. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize, like, reading your bullet points here too, Michael. Like an opt-in PvP option. Okay, that's already better. Good. So
because they said you can play this game single player.
Yeah.
But they are leaning into multiplayer, and it sounds like post-launch content will be pretty much focused on multiplayer, like items and stuff.
Yeah, and that seems like battle pass or season pass written all over it. So eventually,
I also think we're far removed from Ubisoft being that company that's like, even if this game's a dead game, we're going to support it for years. I think we're away from that now as they're trying to be sold. So if this game doesn't hit, I don't think it's going to be like For Honored, where it's like 2 years later it's a hit, or Rainbow Six Siege, where like 3 years later and it was the biggest game. I don't know if it's going to have that window.
Yeah, it's coming out at a terrible time. November 8th is just a terrible time.
You saw what they're doing with that Assassin's Creed game.
Supposedly, but they've also like pulled that back already. They keep delaying the announcement, so I think that they've messed with some stuff, and they're like, well, because like the rumor is like, oh, it's going to be a games as a service, and people are like, your games
no, today it came out.
Oh, they removed them from Steam. Yeah,
there's a game that they removed from Steam, and even if you purchase the game, it's going to be rendered unplayable because they're shutting down some server somewhere.
And it's weird. I think it was Liberation, which is like the game you wouldn't expect to be hit by like some weird DRM shit. But yeah.
Right.
I'm assuming
PC players own their games
on my Vita.
PC players own their games, Josh. It's okay.
Yeah. As long as I could still play it on my Vita, and I think they did a
remaster of it on PS4 or something. Yeah, I thought they did it for the PS4.
They did like a half-hearted.
Yeah,
they did a half-hearted one.
I feel like they threw it in with like an Ezio collection style release or something like that.
something. I think it was with Freedom Cry. It's
I
like
think it was just 3.
package.
Yeah. So
3. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, it comes out November 8th, which was a good day for an announcement until this next news story happened. Which I feel like this isn't the first time Sony has done this. But God of War finally has a date of November 9th. So we were talking about this last week. Like Dave was like, they need to give him 3 months.
Yep. I said at least 90 days.
And you said, like, if it didn't happen, like, it's not coming this year. And I was like, I think it's coming this year, and we will get something before the end of the summer. I was thinking more Gamescom, and then that would be within your 90-day window. But yeah, November 9th, it's coming. Not much to say here other than, holy shit, was Ubisoft probably, like, disappointed because, like, not that those, like, fans are intersecting too much, but you're going to get a lot of people that are going to have to decide which game am I picking up this week, and they're going to go with God of War most likely.
Or just what Twitter and social media look like. Like, if Skull and Bones is good, and people are trying to talk about it being good, it inevitably gets buried by God of War chatter the next day.
Yep. Next day, the whole weekend, and then it just won't be able to recover, because then people will be doing holiday stuff and picking up other games. But yeah, God of War coming November 9th. They did show like the standard edition, collector's edition, like super collector's edition. I like the one with Thor's hammer, but I didn't see a price, so I don't know if I'm picking that up.
Did you see that, Josh? The Xbox in the shape of Thor's hammer?
Oh, no, I was talking about... Yeah. But God of War has a special edition with Thor's hammer in it, so...
I didn't see that. I didn't watch that unboxing. I was like, I don't want to watch that because I don't want to be tempted to spend $300.
Yeah, I watched it and looked at like the PlayStation blog post and was like, if that's reasonably priced, if it's within $100, I'll get it, because they have like a super collector's edition.
Yeah, the only major chatter I heard was all their collector's editions, no discs, right?
Yeah,
I heard that. Yeah,
you get a steel case, no disc, which I see both sides of it. Like you have a digital only console. So you have a player base.
Yeah, they want to make sure it's available for those
You
people.
have a player base that would be like, I don't want it. It has a disc. What am I going to do with the disc? I'm just saying, Josh. Like, I get it. You know,
the fix would be to include 2, but then they'd be worried about people selling the one they're not going to use.
Of course.
Include a code and a disc is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, but nope. But honestly, if people bought the digital edition, they should have like been aware that this would happen to them, so then they probably could have included a disc in the collector's editions and be like, hey, you made your decision.
But they're not the first. Like, Bethesda's done this, right? Like, they've done discless collector's editions, haven't they?
Yeah, Wolfenstein's collector's edition.
Well, because of like the platforms too.
Figure.
Like PlayStation's different, but Bethesda eliminated like, we have to make 100 ones for PC and 100 for PlayStation and 100 for Xbox. Like now they just like, here's the collector's edition and there's no disc.
Yeah, there was no game in the Wolfenstein one, no digital or disc. But yeah, I think this is good. Correct me if I'm wrong. Josh might be able to like offhandedly like pick a game out of here. This might be Sony's biggest like holiday game, like because they usually just release in like March to June. They stay out of November. Big games. Yeah.
Well, God of War historically has always been a March release.
Well, all their big first parties always been March to July.
Yeah.
That's been their window, February to June.
Yeah. This is the biggest game I can think of that was in November. Especially there is a Call of Duty this year. There's no Call of Duty next year. But like November is usually reserved for Call of Duty, and everyone gets the fuck out of the way of Call of Duty. But I think Call of Duty this year is October. Yeah. So I guess Sony just was like, let's take November.
The latest before this one, I feel like, was Ghost in late August, right? Ghost of Tsushima.
Spider-Man was probably September.
Yeah, you're right. September. I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah. But that's the closest to like the holidays I think Sony's gotten.
When Spider-Man came out, I mean, I know it was PlayStation exclusive, but when Spider-Man came out, Insomniac wasn't owned by them
at the time. Yeah,
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Close.
I don't know.
But I was just saying like so because like we got Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us Part 2 within like 6 weeks of each other, which was surprising.
Yeah, and then I guess Miles would count because it came for launch of that, but like that was
that was dictated by when the console came out, though.
Yeah. But like to me, like this is like the biggest like release. Like this is gonna probably accelerate God of War sales significantly, being out before the holidays. So new. Before that Thanksgiving deadline.
I just get concerned that they get too attached to like, oh, look at the November sales success. Like, let's wait for everything else until October and November. And I'm like, I don't need you to crowd that anymore. It was always nice when you had the February, March, April window for me.
For some reason, I feel like something like a Little Big Planet or something came out.
That's what I was thinking. Like, yeah, that would probably make the most sense. Like a Little Big Planet in like October, November.
You know what? So the first Gran Turismo game on the PS3 came out in December 2006.
Okay.
But it was like a demo-ish type thing that came out like on Christmas. I remember that. That was one of the first big things you could download on the PS3. And it was that December, it was like between Christmas and New Year's. That they released that, and it was one track, and everybody downloaded it and played it to death. But yeah, not a big release.
Yeah, Little Big Planet 1 was an October release. Little Big Planet 2 was a January release. But yeah, it just kind of struck me of this like, oh, it almost feels like studios aren't afraid of Call of Duty anymore, or like because Call of Duty moved out of the way. That like they just jumped in this spot, and like I feel bad for Skull and Bones because they have to compete with God of War the same week, and probably the Avatar game a couple weeks before that because that will come out like.
When is the movie coming though? But isn't this supposed to be tied to the movie?
It is, but I don't think it would matter too much because the movie's mostly underwater, and as far as I know, like this game they haven't shown any like water gameplay.
But is that really going to be a huge game?
Based on the studio, based on
Skull and Bones.
No, based on the studio that Ubisoft is using to make the game, Avatar is their marquee title. Whenever it comes out.
I'm not saying like fan wise. I'm saying like Ubisoft marketing money wise. Gotcha. It's probably going to be funneled into the Avatar game. Like
there's very few studios, Josh, that don't have the word Ubisoft in front of them. And Massive is one of them. and like the division developer is the one doing the Avatar game.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I believe Avatar a Christmas Day movie. I believe the new one coming out. I think that's what it's supposed to be.
If it's Christmas, then yeah, the game coming out in October, November is smart then, if it's Christmas.
Yeah.
So again, like we talked about the Ubisoft Forward that's supposed to be in September, I would assume would be heavily focused on Avatar then. But again, I'm against having a Ubisoft Forward on September 12th and saying that Avatar is coming out November 12th. Don't do that. Like, you can't do that close of a time frame.
Hopefully not.
So they might have to date this before this Ubisoft Forward, like, and say, like, in August 15th, say, hey, Avatar's coming November or October 25th or whatever. Again, that's still too close. Look forward to the Ubisoft, like, come watch the Ubisoft Forward to see more stuff.
Yeah, Avatar is coming out, the movie's coming out December 16th. So, like, it would be perfect to release the Avatar game sometime before Thanksgiving so you can get the Black Friday sales and whatnot for that. But yeah, I'm excited for God of War. I was just at a bookstore and I found like the B is for Boy like children's book they made for God of War. So I ended up picking that up because it was like $3. So I'm excited for God of War. I'll probably buy a stupid collector's edition because I'm stupid and I have expendable income to waste. So last story, which I think is perfect because I had some questions for Josh that he might be able to answer. For this last one. All right, so ReedPop is taking over E3 2023. So the ESA has finally handed the reins over to a company that knows what they're doing with conventions. So the people behind PAX, C2E2, New York Comic Con, Emerald Con. Basically, if it's a major convention that isn't like San Diego Comic Con, it's probably ReedPop who's organizing it. So the ESA has said that they are going to hand the reins over to them. So ReedPop said that they're welcoming back publishers, developers, journalists, content creators, manufacturers, buyers, and licensors. And they are going to have digital showcases and in-person consumer components. So a lot of stuff there for ReedPop to fix. They specifically also mentioned that they are going to bring back the stuff that worked for E3 and then also take away the stuff that didn't work. So they lied immediately because in-person consumer
will give you what you want and take away what you don't want. How do you like that?
Perfect way to like say, hey, we're on your side. But yeah, I've had experience with ReedPop just because I volunteered for them and worked at C2E2 for about like 7 or 8 years. And I've been to PAX as media for 1 year. But I like my experiences with them for like C2E2 wasn't as media, and C2E2 wasn't really a media event because it's Chicago in like March. Like there's not much going on. But like you've gone to New York Comic Con as media and press. With that experience, yeah. And then I don't know if you've gone to a PAX, but okay, so New York Comic Con experience. Like, how do you think they would be able to handle like being a media friendly thing? Because like New York Comic Con is very important for like TV shows and stuff, so they have some experience with that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would always get put on the list, and I would get hit, with all the emails. Hey, we're doing this, we're doing that. Do you want to come see this? Do you want to? And I mean, so the funny thing is, New York Comic Con, in terms of attendance, is bigger than San Diego Comic Con. The problem is San Diego Comic Con is like a short drive from LA. So all of them would rather go to San Diego in that nice warm weather than go to New York in October. Fuck that.
Yeah.
So you get like the second tier stuff coming to New York. But the last couple of years, it was getting bigger and bigger things coming to that con. My experience with it, they became a lot more strict over the last couple of years, and it became a little more of a pain in the ass in the way they handled things, because it got so much bigger and there were so many people there, and there were so many with just tickets sold to the general public, and your press credentials and how you had to just get into the con, and how all that was handled became a lot more stressful, I would say, in the last couple of years. They have enough experience that they should be able to do the same thing for E3. The biggest problem we had with E3 the last time we went was when they opened the doors to the public, and it was just like a freaking free-for-all. It was a huge mess. And members of the public got in early, and they were stealing shit from, laptops disappeared from developers in these rooms and stuff like that. There were all kinds of issues with that. I think they're much better at handling those two crowds together. And I think they'd probably do a really good job with it. They've got the experience. I think they could just roll right in there and make it work. The big question is this going to bring back PlayStation and Microsoft or any of that? Are any of them just going to be like, fuck that, we're not coming back? What we don't need
Maybe
to.
Microsoft.
No, Microsoft owns the freaking theater across the street.
I know, but they still would like partner with like.
What are they going to do? Put a mixer booth in there? Oh wait.
Yeah, but your E3 badge got you into the Microsoft like theater, so like, or at least for press and media it did. But Dave, like, what would you want from this like new E3, like run by a different company? Like, they're going to bring consumers back, so you can't say like no.
No, I don't.
Like,
I mean,
public.
The public was irritating to me, but they never bothered me. Like I mean, for the most part. It took 1 year for most of the developers that were there to learn that they're like, hey, okay, like, again, Ubisoft as an example. All right, public's here. You get this half of the thing. You can play Just Dance and mess around with Assassin's Creed. Press goes over here. Or press goes upstairs.
Yeah.
And
upstairs. That was where we all went.
Yep. And they did a better job of that, which, or they would, and then if they ever needed to take you to the floor, they took you to the floor themselves, your PR people, and you just essentially like fast pass past somebody.
But that's exactly what happened with Comic-Con. So with New York Comic-Con, you would go to the panel where they're showing off, where WB is showing off the latest Lego superhero game, whatever it was, Lego Marvel superhero, one that I can remember.
Yeah.
And then after the panel, or either before or after, you would go upstairs in
the booth,
the Javits Center.
Okay. Oh,
not even a booth.
I got you.
All the way back in these conference rooms.
Yeah.
And you'd sit in this area and in a round table, sit with the developers, sit with whoever was going to be on the panel and talk about the game, get like a whole in-depth thing about the game. So I can see where they could handle that a lot better.
Yeah, but like my memories right now of E3 are the 2-tier PlayStation VR booth where the public was downstairs and we were upstairs. The 2-tier Activision booth where Rock Band was on a corner and Destiny was on a corner and Guitar Hero. I'm messing the names up, but Skylanders.
Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
Skylanders. Each of them, like it was like 4 major games for Activision, and they had this borderline small building in the convention center. And same thing, WB. Okay, Mordor is over here, Lego is over here, and then we come inside and we go into the building, and like that's where we are. I don't think those booths are ever coming back to E3 ever.
No?
They're gonna have to do more.
They're all owned by the major
things.
Publishers. Like Activision's owned by Microsoft soon.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
okay. I wasn't thinking in those terms. I was thinking of logistics.
Yeah, I just don't see it. Like Sony, EA's doing its own thing. Sony's doing its own thing. Like Ubisoft is trying to do its own thing. Like right now, if we had an E3 this year, Ubisoft wouldn't have had anything to warrant the booth.
So, but it's ReedPop, and they need to make this thing work. So what kind of incentives do you think they throw? What kind of sweeteners do you think they throw at all these publishers to get them to come back?
Panels.
No. So they were charging like $200,000 for a booth, $200,000 to $500,000 a booth space. That's not anything built. That's literally just a square with tape on it. Yeah. So I would assume you slash that price significantly to like tell people like, hey, come here. We're not going to charge you $500,000 for a 50 by 50 lot anymore. So they would probably have to incentivize them that way.
You know where they make up the money?
Merchandise.
Not even merchandise so much. They do panels, but they also do signings. They get the voice actors. They get, big name people, and they pay them to come sit here at a table for a couple hours during the day and sign their games, sign posters, sign whatever, take pictures.
But as a press person, I don't care.
No, that's not for you.
I know.
It will still be upstairs, most likely. Yeah.
That's for the public. That's where they're making their money.
Right.
Where they can put those discounts on the booths and say, fuck it, here's space. Just take
Is that enough? Is what you're saying enough to Sony go, you know what, we want a booth there. We want to have Nolan North there. We want to have Troy Baker there for whatever. Like, is it enough to incentivize Sony to go back into the convention center? Is it enough to bring Xbox into the convention center?
Probably not.
Yeah.
The first year. Unless they bend over backwards and offer them something crazy that they're like, all right, we'd be stupid not to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they would have to slash the amount of money it takes to get you there. They would have to make sure the public aren't bored and frustrated that there's not many games to play. Because I talked to a lot of people the 2 years that we were there, and there was like regular people there, and most of them were like, I didn't play shit. I was in line for like the entire day. So you'd have to find a way to make those people happy, because if you're a developer and you're showing a game, if they had to wait 6 to 8 hours to play your game, they're gonna not have a great time with. They're either gonna be super ecstatic that they got to play the game, or they're gonna be like, this wasn't worth me waiting 6 to 8 hours for. So they need to find a way to make people happy to be there. And then they also have to make media happy, because that's the other incentive for like the indie developers and the mid-sized publishers is like, hey, the whole reason we even come there is because we can get 100 people or thousands of people from around the world to come there and write about the game. And as much as like the Zoom meetings, the Discord stuff me and Dave have been doing the last 2 years during the pandemic, they can't rotate as many people in as if, because it's just,
you can't,
they got to run up a Parsec server and then.
And you can't
do all
build
this
buzz
stuff.
if you're playing a game with 10 or 12 other people in the same room as you. You can't build that buzz on a Parsec server. Like if me playing in my office right now.
So funny thing about that was the biggest problem when they brought the public in. Too many people, not enough games, or not enough, just
too many people. Too many people, not enough stuff for them to touch.
No, they just didn't have enough. Like in each physical game, they only had like 5 demo stations or 10 demo stations, and they had 3,000 people wanting to play it, So I know it's completely two different things, because Comic-Con is just pop culture focused and it's all over the place. But gaming grew and grew. Like the first year I was there were like 3 gaming companies there. It was Sega was there, Rockstar was there because they're in New York.
Yeah.
And maybe Square Enix. And that's where I played Thor. I didn't play Thor. They didn't let us play it because they were smart. But they let us play Captain America, and that was fucking awesome. But the thing is, even as it grew, and PlayStation was there one year with God of War, it might have been Ascension had just come out. I forget what it was, but whatever the God of War at that time was, they had a huge Kratos statue. They had all these demo booths set up. There were never any problems with lines. And I know, like I'm saying, they've got a million other things there, pop culture focused, and all those panels going on to keep people's attention elsewhere. But that's kind of a read pop thing. If they start looking at a way to mix in panels and things like that to keep people busy elsewhere and to keep all the pressure off those booths and off those demo stations,
which is what
people more time.
Jeff Keighley's Coliseum was exactly that, of like, hey, across the street, Jeff Keighley's having panels with Jack Black and
or does ReadPop have certain rules? Like, hey, I don't even know who to use as an example, but 505, if you're going to be here, you need to have 50 playable stations.
Well, Square Enix was there. Square Enix and Capcom were perennials. They were there every single year. They had huge areas set up, and they grew each year.
But even Square knows how to do that,
have a
though.
line.
But no, Square
have a line.
Even at E3, Square handled it well all the time. There was always like 40 monitors per game. Like,
it's probably they had the same problem, same setup that they just took from place
the V's,
to place.
Like they made
most
likely.
Yeah.
Even when Take-Two's been there, or 2K's been there for Borderlands. Like when I remember Borderlands 3 at an E3, like there was probably 75 stations that they could get people in and out, and like you get to play for 5 minutes, and there's you get I don't even know what the math would be of like 7-minute sessions at 75 a pop per hour.
Yeah, that was the trick. Well, it's also going to be weird because technically it's post-COVID, but we know it's not really post-COVID. So the attendance, it will be, because I know how America is. The attendance will be just like it used to be.
That's how PAX has been. PAX has run like 3 PAXs since the pandemic. So
all right. So I'll just forget I haven't said any of that. I'm living in a different world, apparently.
yeah. There's been 3 PAXs since then, and they still run it. But yeah, to Dave's point, like the ESA, might have to, or ESA/ReadPop be like, hey, don't worry about bringing TVs. We got those. Just bring us consoles. Like this, they're going to need to find any way possible to take the load off the publishers and the developers. Because I don't know, offhand, but most of the time, talking to people, like the display that we see at E3, they're like, yeah, we take this to San Diego Comic-Con. If we go to New York, we're taking the exact same display to New York. And, they try and get as much money possible off those booths as they can.
That used to be what E3 was for the press, though. The press saw it first, and then it dispersed over the next couple of months to everybody else.
Yeah.
And that was like the exclusivity kickoff thing to it. The only thing that I can think of, and there's no way to physically control this, is the two conference centers. What is it, West and North, or West and South? Like South Hall and West Hall?
Yeah,
South
West
Hall, West Hall, yeah.
One's for the public, and one's not.
So the current rumor is they're just going to do a media day.
One day's not enough.
So
I've heard 1 in 2 days.
Yeah.
They did that in New York.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
they do Thursday preview, right?
Yeah, they would do a Thursday, but it used to be like Saturday, Sunday, and then it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then they went Thursday is for press, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they were like, well, shit, there's too much money here, so you can buy like a super gold pass and be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then there was no press day all of a sudden because they were looking money. But I think if they can repopify it, if they can do a lot more panels, if they can get those people to agree to do panels and things like that, and in a way where, here's the main stage, like Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con, this is where everybody does their big things, and here's this, and here are the smaller ones all over here where all those indie developers can do their own little,
Is that enough though? Is the voice actor for the current Assassin's Creed character enough to carry a panel?
Okay,
but not even that.
Idea. Okay.
Yeah.
C2E2, New York Comic Con, they do Artist Alley. What if there was an Artist Alley where you have the concept artists from the games that are going, and you can tell the concept artists that work at Ubisoft, work at Activision, like, hey, you can make extra money on the side. You can set up a mini booth in Artist Alley, and then people can like play the game and then find the concept artist who has just a shit ton of like art that they can sell, like just to keep people busy, and also incentivize some of the developers. Like if you're on a concept art team, you're going to go to like the HR, whoever's in charge of like, hey, can we go to this? Cause like we can make extra money by being here, having a presence by just selling concept art to fans. And I think that could be enough. Like you might be able to get you might not be able to get Sony as a whole to go there, but you might get Santa Monica Studios to send their art team to be there and do something. You can incentivize like the people that are actually working on a game to earn some extra money and sell some of their art, because a lot of them are already making art on the side anyways, but you then give them a place to sell it. You can at least get developers in there and then give like it would be more for the consumer as opposed to media, but it would just be a way to, because the more people they bring in, the more likely a publisher is going to come in and be like, it's worth demoing my game there, but I don't want people waiting 8 hours to play. If you like have little things that are video game related, like is a Last of Us panel going to bring people in? Maybe, it might bring some people in. But if it's like, hey, go on.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I was gonna say, but I think you were on the same track. It's you get, just developers or the small indie guy.
It's the quantity over quality argument. Like there's a quantity of things to do. Like instead of 2 things to do, there's 12.
Exactly. But that spreads the people out and keeps them busy in all those rooms. So it takes pressure off all those demo stations and everything else. It really keeps people and it keeps them like, oh, I've got this huge list, because that was the whole thing with New York Comic Con. I would look down the list of, if they weren't available specifically for media, I'd look at all these panels that were going on during the day and all these overlapping panels, and I'm like, fuck, how am I going to get to this one and this one, and these 3 are happening at the same time, and shit.
Just give them a map with a stamp thing and tell them if they get 100 stamps, they get a t-shirt. They'll spread it all over the place.
Oh yeah. In real life achievements,
give them a treasure map. Like you can.
But like as a consumer, I would be excited to go. If there's some small indie developer that I like Ben Rivers.
Yeah.
If Benjamin Rivers is there doing a little thing talking about, all his games and his studio and how they built all this stuff up. I would love to go see that as a consumer because I love those games and I want to meet him. And
2022 me, Josh, I'd just rather watch it on YouTube.
No, I'm talking about average consumers out there who don't have the access that you and I have or have had, you know?
No, I know, but I'm just saying I would rather just watch that panel on YouTube. I guess if you could say that I could, if I go to the panel, I get to meet him or whatever, or get him to sign a game.
And I bring my limited run games copy of the Alone with You. Alone? Was that what it's called?
I think so. Josh gonna go find who he just has stacks.
No, I literally have it right here. Hang on. That's the funny thing. It's in my Alone with You. Yes, my Sega CD copy that's being blurred
it's
out.
Blurred.
There it is.
Yeah. Inappropriate.
Yeah, that I could bring this and he could sign it, but it's sealed. So I don't know how that would work.
Post-it note.
Yeah, but that's the type of thing. As a consumer, that would be freaking amazing because you see that all the time at Comic-Con.
Get some concept art signed by
the type of stuff
the actors.
Yeah. Or the artist or whatever. You could
and that might be just enough to bring a publisher in of just like, oh, how many people are there? Like, and they're all buying shit. Okay, that means they're going to be in good moods, and Sony can sell T-shirts and also show off their game to media because the people are all there.
I don't know. Like, the hype has always been the Sunday, Monday press conferences, and then what's at the press conferences is on the show. Like, and without the press conferences, like, I
change it up.
I know.
This is I'm you got to come in and change it up.
I'm all for it. I just don't know how you're gonna, I don't know.
You don't have the one big press conference. You have panels.
No, I know, but I'm just
main
like,
stage, and you've got all the other little panels.
Well, but there was a problem when we went. Like, a lot of people didn't know that, like, just because you bought an E3 ticket does not mean you get into the Sony press conference or the Microsoft press conference. And I remember people being super fucking bummed out.
Yeah, because all those people, they're used to Comic-Con, where you buy a ticket and then you go get in line and you wait in line all day because you want to get into the Archer.
But the Sony press conference is 40 minutes away.
No, well,
no, I know,
the difference here with ReedPop, you do it all on site.
You do breakout rooms where you can still do the press conference if they get them, but they're like, hey, do you want to see more footage of the game? Basically what we did, like, remember when I think it was us three, where whichever one they showed Ghost of Tsushima out, it's just like, I saw Ghost, you saw Days Gone, and then you saw like the Last of Us thing, and we went into private areas to go see that.
Yeah.
Or was it The Last of Us? I forget what the third game was, but either way, it was Detroit. Like we all.
Yeah,
Detroit. Yeah. It might have been Detroit. But we all basically the next day got to go into private areas and then see the game. They could do that on a public scale because it's a convention center. There are breakout rooms everywhere. They're usually taken up by like media, but there's a way to do that because there's also like a lot of space at E3 at the LA Convention Center that isn't used, period, that they could potentially use in the future if they really want to give it a go. But honestly, Dave, I'm kind of excited because it means if we can knock out E3 in 1 to 2 days and not have to spend money to go for 7 days, I'm totally down.
Same. I don't know if I really want to get my ass kicked for 48 hours, but if that's what it is, yeah. As long as I just want it to feel like it's worth it, though. And without Sony, without Microsoft, without EA, like the worth gets a little less. And again,
see, I was so used to not being allowed to see those places because I was so low on the totem pole. So if you're telling me I can see like Devolver, THQ Nordic, those are my boys.
Fine, but how do you get Devolver back inside? How do you we have. I can't even think of the word. We have trailers and beer. I'm not going inside.
Oh yeah. I mean, but Devolver doesn't care. They're just across the street, So like, Devolver is just like, hey.
Devolver doesn't care. EA doesn't care. Microsoft doesn't care. Sony doesn't care.
But
Devolver's whole thing was just
the way it was run and the money. Yeah. All of that stuff. All of that.
So
stuff
fine.
ReedPop.
Josh, can ReedPop get Sony back inside?
That's to be seen. You know,
could they get
This is what
Microsoft
they have
inside?
to do.
Probably.
If they lay this out and say this is what we do,
Or can they
this
get
is our
Keeley
plan,
inside?
This is
No,
our
Keeley
plan
already
for
said
a
he's
new
doing his own
E3.
thing.
Yeah.
So,
If they can lay out their plan for a new E3, and here's how you can benefit PlayStation, here's how you can benefit Microsoft, here's how all of you can benefit. And they have to. I mean, that's how they have to do it. They have to lay out.
I agree with you that
and
the first year might be a little rough, but you start to see the upward trajectory. You start to see the progress.
I think they could. Yeah.
You know, or you back up. I don't know how much money ReedPop has, but you eventually go to Ubisoft and be like, what's it going to take? And you get Ubisoft first, and then you prove. So Ubisoft, like the board goes and like talks to Sony, like, hey, well, we really had a profitable week there. Like it worked. And then that kind of gets around a little bit. I agree with that. I just worry that there's not enough time.
Oh, they got 1 year, so
that's why I'm saying there's not enough time. No. I mean, like, can you slowly increase the trajectory 2023, 2024, and then all of a sudden 2025 you start getting it back? That's the part, or is it 2023 is a little bit better, 2024 and we're done?
I think they could. I read Pop. They do enough out there that I think they're making enough money as it is.
And also, the ESA is run by the publishers,
right?
Yeah.
So but there's infinite money.
I guess I'm curious how much money ReedPop's willing to invest into this. That would be the interesting part.
I would assume ESA is so desperate that they told ReedPop organize it and we'll cut the check. Like I have a feeling most of the money's coming from the ESA. They just couldn't do it themselves anymore. And then they tried to get IM 8-Bit to do it, and then IM 8-Bit was like, no. And then COVID happened, and then they spent the last 2 years like lost and confused. So we're talking about ESA, who is Microsoft, Sony, Activision, EA, Ubisoft. Like that is the ESA. So most likely they're just going to cut a big check and they're like, just make it happen. Just because they're at the point where E3 has enough prestige on its name, but that's fading very fast with everything. Like San Diego Comic-Con, still a force to be reckoned with. New York Comic-Con, and then you have C2E2's been stepping up. I mean, there's a Star Wars convention that does pretty well. The anime convention that's run at the LA Convention Center has video games and is pretty big. So, like, EA kind of has to act, or E3 needs to kind of act fast before Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest completely takes over, which is also doing an in-person event next year. So
two things. And I had forgotten about it until you started talking about all that, Michael. Like New York Comic-Con, the Javits Center is unbelievably massive. New York Comic-Con has gotten so big that half their events are off-site.
That's how PAX is in Seattle.
Madison Square Garden, in all the theaters nearby. Like I did the photo call for all the people from Archer, and then we all had to walk 6 blocks down the street to go to the theater where they were actually doing their panel, because it has gotten so big that they're spread out all over that central part of New York.
And if they're using Madison Square Garden, that's the most expensive place to rent.
It's fucking crazy. But that's where they did Walking Dead and Star Trek Discovery when that first came out. Or that was second season, I think they were going into. They were, because Spock was there. That was cool. But what I was going to say, the real key will be 2 years from now. How did it go off? The first year, that's all up in the air. Year 2, how did year 2 go?
Yeah, you build the foundation and prove that it's stable, and the second year you start putting the flare on.
Yeah, and if we don't see, either an upward trajectory or good, vibes coming out of it, people saying, "Oh, that was really awesome. They did a great job. E3 is back." All this stuff. If that doesn't come after year 2, then you have to start worrying. I would say.
Yeah. All right. I think we beat this horse to death. Yeah.
All right. So we have a delay. So Josh, we have a segment in our show notes of what's delayed.
Do you have a segment where you go over all the things you got wrong? Because I can't wait for that.
No, we don't. So
No.
we're already really close to
gotta add
time
that.
too.
Oh,
So
bastard.
And what we're playing and watching, you can just
Yeah.
roast me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what's delayed? Forspoken has been delayed from October 2022 to January 24th, 2023. I feel like this is a production delay, not a game development delay.
Yeah, they said they're pretty much like game complete. It's just now bug fixes and stuff. So they just needed more time. And Square Enix is going to have a hell of a year next year because they're going to have 2 Final Fantasy games out and Forspoken. So Square Enix is hoping to make bank. And also they probably wanted to get out of the way of God of War, even though it's October. They probably were just like, hey, let's get out of the way of God of War.
Have you
Good
seen
idea.
anything about Forspoken, Josh?
No.
Okay. All right, so we're pretty much going to skip the what we're playing and watching segment, partially because of time and also because Josh is here. So we're going to let Josh kind of go quickly of whatever rant he wants to go on to mess with us for whatever Michael did or didn't say about Pac-Man. And then just like maybe just give us a quick update of what's going on with you from either from a gaming standpoint, and I think we have a couple questions for you that we can probably kind of loop into here together too. So
Okay. So Pac-Man World
Yeah.
was a PlayStation 1 game right here in my hand. And then Pac-Man World 2 and 3 and Pac-Man World Rally were 3 separate PS2 games. And they also came in this nifty little bundle of all 3 of them packaged together. It was a beautiful thing. So
And those
they're
were on
all-
GameCube?
What do I know about GameCube?
I'm just telling you, the one I played when I was like 9 years old is the one I remember.
Yeah, it was probably Pac-Man World 2 and 3 were probably on GameCube as well because they were on PS2.
Yeah.
So most likely.
Okay, Josh.
Yes.
Tell me why all video games before 1990 were boring and poop. This is something that I tweeted you on May 15th, and you weren't able to defend yourself at all on Twitter.
Oh, I was able to defend myself. Your answer was always like, no, that one sucks. No, that sucks. No,
I
that
gave
sucks.
better games that were significantly better. You said Pitfall, I said Minecraft. So I think I won that debate.
Did not win that.
Yeah, I did.
They're totally different experiences.
sounds like the topic for the show when I'm on vacation.
All right, let's move on from that. Dave doesn't need this.
All right, so we'll kind of go into the questions, and I think that this will kind of give out some of the stuff that maybe that the listeners are hoping for as well, of just about updates on Josh. So, Robert Cartwright, do you hope for a new Disney Infinity or remastered version?
Well, I doubt they'd ever do a remastered version. I would love to see a brand new version, but there's no way they're ever going down that road
Do you
again.
know where all your figures are?
Yes, they're they're right behind me in a closet, and some are upstairs. Actually, some are being played with.
Okay, I was gonna say on display being used.
So now, like a little bit
Lego Dimensions and that they're being played with.
Yeah, so a little bit of a follow-up on that is, do you think that Xbox can revitalize Skylanders?
Or there'd
No.
be a reason for them to.
No. If they do anything, it'll be maybe a Skylanders game, but without any of the figures. Without any of the actual hands-on figures. Just a game.
NFT figures on your phone.
Exactly, yeah.
I'll be pissed if it's not a Spyro game. If it's a Skylanders game and not a Spyro game, I'm gonna be so livid.
Yeah, I miss those games. I really do.
And then the question that I'm sure you're expecting and that constantly comes up, and I think it shows up on your Twitter randomly as well. Are you ever going back into regular podcasting?
Probably not. I literally don't have the time. This is dumb. People are going to hate hearing this one. I got a second PS5.
You have no time for such things.
I know. My wife was like, "What?" I was like, "Well,
Did Josh buy a digital console? No.
no, fuck no.
I I will only buy a second one if I buy a digital one, and I'll live with the regrets of
I couldn't
having
do
one
that.
that I can't use discs on.
I have not
I got the one-
regretted it yet. Like there's been the only time that I've regretted it, usually it's on sale on Xbox, and my Xbox has a disc drive.
I got the one with Horizon packed in.
Okay.
Which is a digital copy, of course. And I took everything out. I'm like, where's the code? Did I get it? And it didn't have a code.
Pre-downloaded on the console.
And Zoe, my daughter, was there with me, and I'm like, look in the box, see if you can find the code, because I'm holding the PS5.
Already on the phone, ready to carry it out. With
and she looked down, and it was like, it was down in the bottom of the box, like under something. And she pulled it out. She's like, this? I was like, yes, that.
At least it's not like Xbox where I freaked out because there was like no codes for my Game Pass Ultimate in the box, and it was like already installed on the system. And I was just like, it's magic. Like, I don't know how this works.
That's kind of cool, actually. But how did I get there?
No time to regular podcast.
No time to podcast.
No time to podcast. Yeah. So work has kept me exceptionally busy. The funny thing is, like, I do less out day to day, but it's more like paperwork stuff, because now I can do everything completely on my own, and I just have our main office who handles all the big stuff. But I can.
Josh does the writing, the office does the underwriting.
Basically. I mean, I don't know. I guess people know I do solar.
Yeah.
I'm a solar rep. So
I wasn't going to say anything. I was just giving a vague.
Okay. I'm not going to say who I work for or anything like that, but I can design the system. I can write up all the agreements. I can price the system. I do everything that way.
Huge asset for me a couple months ago.
Yes. So that takes up a lot of my time, especially in the evening. Where I sit down, I'm like, okay, I did this all day. I've got all the pictures now. I've got to put all this stuff together and get it ready. But I get paid quite well, so I'm fine with that. It takes up a lot of my time. I'd say I'm working less on a day-to-day basis, like during the day, because I'm just being like, I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm going there, I'm done.
Yeah, it's kind of like that lifestyle thing where, like, okay, I can go pick the kids up. I can set this down for 20 minutes and come back, like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I make my own schedule. I schedule my own appointments, or I do days where I say, all right, throw whatever you got at me. And then and I know that day I'm on, and wherever I'm going, I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
But it's afforded me a lot of freedom that I never had before. But at the same time, I'm busy. I'm busier now with the kids because I can be. I can spend a lot more time with them, to the point where Mason and I have gone through all of Star Wars end to end, and now we're waiting for new Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone through all of Marvel, including Thor: Love and Thunder, Saturday morning. So
I saw that this week too. So
it was awesome. The only thing we haven't done is all the new X-Men, or the old X-Men stuff.
Well, 97 coming, you can watch the old cartoon.
Well, we could do that. I just want to get him through the X-Men movies, just to kind of round things out. We're not doing Fantastic Four stuff, but because I said to him, I was like, we're totally caught up on Marvel. He's like, no, we're not. I was like, well, Ms. Marvel, the next episode is coming. He's like, no, X-Men. I went, oh, fuck. I was like, yeah, we got to do X-Men. Hopefully in a couple of years, he'll watch Deadpool. I went back and watched the first.
No. Just like, you're going to watch X-Men. He can watch Logan. He can watch, like, make him cry.
Oh, yeah, no, he could see Logan. Yeah. But
okay.
Deadpool, I went back and I watched
Talk about Logan and psychology to a psychologist.
Almost double digits. You can watch Deadpool. It'll be all right.
I watched the first half hour of Deadpool again. I was like, oh, no. He's not ready for this. He's 10, dude. He's not quite ready there for that. But yeah, that's been the nice thing, is that I have a lot more time with my kids.
Awesome.
Like, my wife works from home 3 days a week. So Monday, Tuesday, I'm home. Like I don't take any appointments. I don't do anything. I'm just home. I'm doing like the paperwork side of things, but I'm home. Mm-hmm. I do play, like one night is with Mason, my son, for movies or whatever we're getting caught up on pop culture wise. And then the next night is for gaming with Zoe, mm-hmm. my daughter. So that's been most of my gaming time. Awesome. It's been with her. So it's whatever she wants to play. Which I got to say, one thing about that. She's 7 now. And when she started gaming, I forget how old she was, you know, even when we first got the PS5, which was what, a year ago?
Mm-hmm. Year and a half.
2 years ago?
Yeah. 2 years ago now? Jesus Christ.
It will be 2.
Yeah. So year and a half.
So when we first got that, she loved Astrobot, but she couldn't, you know, there were areas where she just could not do anything with it. The platforming was too complex, too much, you know, you have to do this and hit this button and bounce here. And it was too much for her. Yesterday or the day before, whatever day it was, Sunday, maybe. I don't know what's today. Today's Monday. Yeah, it was yesterday. I don't know what day it is anymore. She started playing. She wanted to play Astrobot before we went to see Rise of Gru. And she was doing everything. Like she was getting through these most complex parts. And I'm looking at her, I said to her, I am really proud of you. This is amazing. Like you couldn't even do this before. And look at you now. You're cruising through these levels like they're nothing. Like I was blown away by it. So it's really fun, you know, having the time to be with the kids and watch them grow and watch them get better at the games and stuff like that. It's been great. It's, you know, made our whole family a lot closer, awesome. Which is cool.
Start a podcast with the 3 of them called Introducing Pitfall to My Children.
Hey, Mason started on the Atari 2600. Zoe did not.
Good for her.
All right. Jacob Tyler Blaker writes, Josh's take on the Steam Deck.
Ooh, I want it. Oh, well, I've got a pre-order in for it. I didn't even think about it.
What quarter are you in on that pre-order?
Soon, like next quarter, I think it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like January at the latest, I think.
Probably, yeah, somewhere in there. But I went high end. I went, you know, I got to get the best one I can get. Because I hadn't thought much about it. I thought, oh, that could be cool. But then when I started seeing everybody talking about it, the people that got it, and how everybody like really enjoyed it, and how good it really is, I was like, okay, I'll get one. So that's why I'm a couple months out, but I'm getting one.
And then for Michael and I's Patreon idea, what would it look like to have MJC and Dave do a Stardew Valley co-op together from beginning to end? How long would that take, first of all?
It's kind of, it depends. I wouldn't want to mainline the story, so I'd drag this shit out for like months. You would be like, okay, so I got to go in the dungeon and get the thing, and be like, no. Turnips. Gotta farm turnips, and we can only do it in this season. And then like me and you would have to like fight over Sebastian, like who's gonna date him.
If we played 2 hours a week every week, how many weeks would it take us?
It depends. Like, are we romancing characters? Are we going to be fighting over characters? You might have missed. Dave's interested in dating sim game. So like, nice. I might have some competition in Stardew Valley.
I do remember hearing about that. No, so 2 hours a week, 7 years.
Yeah, probably. Basically, when you say, Jacob, what would it look like? First off, we would have to have enough financial incentive for Dave to commit to Stardew Valley, because it would be torture of me just like dragging him along. Of just like, hey, can we do this next part? I'm like, nah, we'll wait until next season. And then like 3 months later, we'll hit that season, and I'll be like,
a lot of financial incentive. A lot.
Yeah. Yeah. They would need a punch in, punch out card.
Yeah.
We'll just have to set that up in the basement.
All right. Arctic Soldier writes, now that PS Essential, Extra, and Premium have launched, what are your thoughts about the service so far for the short time it's been active, he means. So I guess first, for Josh, do you even know what those tiers are?
Oh, jeez. Yes, I do. So
Okay.
I had PlayStation Plus. I had PlayStation Now. So nothing has changed for me. I mean, it's essentially all of it rolled into one.
How far out were you?
Like 2 or 3 years.
Okay, for now. So now
Yeah.
it should all be premium.
Yeah. So it's premium for like the next 2 or 3 years. I don't have to pay for anything else.
I know your internet is
nice.
like ridiculous. I know that, but like, have you messed with like the PS3 gaming and the emulation?
Yeah.
Because like I'm not hearing great things.
I haven't really had much of a problem with it. I mean, with PS Now, I did every now and then. There were like,
does it feel like the service has been upgraded?
It feels like it. At least the games I've played so far.
Okay.
I haven't gone back and tried to play some of the ones that were buggy on Now, because there were 1 or 2 games where you'd get partway into it and it would just crash every single time.
Yeah.
So I should try that if it's still on there. I know they took some of them away, but I really like being able to download, some of the PS1 games, some of the PS2 games, and just having them there. It's really very nice to have all that.
I don't think it's worth it yet until they add more PS1 classics, more PS2 classics, because like the PS1 classics they added were it was basically the amount they added. It was like, oh, that's cute, but it wasn't nearly as many as I wanted on the service. And then the PS2 stuff I was hoping for PS2 games that weren't already ported over to the PS4. I was hoping they would like dig deep, which I'm still expecting them to do eventually. But like right now, I'm just the day before Stray comes out is when I will upgrade to premium, just because I only have like half a year. But I'm not only going to do it for Stray, and then I'll finally mess with like the classics.
Don't you only don't you only upgrade to Extra to get that?
But I'm just going to go full premium so I can enjoy like the 3 other PS1 games that I don't have.
Like that's the thing. I might actually do that just to see. Like I doubt I'd play anything, but just to have this library of stuff to. Maybe.
So I think that's the problem. Like I already had, like I was just grandfathered right into the top tier, so it didn't, and I didn't put any money out of my pocket, so it didn't. There was no thought. Yeah,
it just happened.
Where I can understand where somebody coming in like I got to pay what, and that's all I'm getting. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's currently my problem. Even though I only have to put in like $25 now to finish out my year. It still is like, is $25 really worth to play? I'm trying to think of one of the Mr. Driller. I think that's the only PS1 game I don't own. Like, no, God, no. Who would play that?
With your new job and all that money coming in, JP God rocks. I think $25 is fine.
Not for Mr. Driller. Like, I'm not gonna,
leave him alone. He hasn't got a paycheck from them yet.
No, I did. It was really nice. I bought Lollipop Chainsaw. I don't know if you saw it.
I haven't changed anything yet. Nothing has incentivized me either way. So I have nothing to report on that. So, all right, your buddy.
I seem to recall. Hang on, I seem to recall you being very much against Game Pass way back when, and now it's like your favorite thing.
I don't think I was ever against Game Pass.
Well, you said I just don't see where's the money coming from. Like, how are they?
That's Dave's problem the entire time. He's never been against it, but he just doesn't.
It financially doesn't make any sense to me, Josh.
That's what it was.
And it still doesn't make any sense to me. It's still financially, like as a business person, like what I do in a day-to-day time frame, it doesn't make any sense to me. I understand how much revenue it brings in, but like to everybody's point that's been telling me, like Halo Infinite cost $500 million to make it, like. Like
what?
Yeah, no. Halo's Infinite budget was like $500 million.
Yeah, after marketing and everything, it was ridiculous.
And then and right now Xbox first party can't release anything. so I don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's why you buy all those studios.
Yeah,
so now they're all first
and
party.
But they still can't release anything. And I've still Gotham Knights will be on Game Pass. I'm telling you now, Gotham Knights will be on Game Pass because they have nothing for the holidays. They're gonna have to pay for something,
and that'll be the only way I'll play that game. So
But it's just like if the rumors are true, and like for games like Outriders, they're paying 20, 30, 40 million dollars to get them on Game Pass. I don't know how it's financially stable. But at the same time, like I said, the business side of me doesn't understand it. The consumer side of me doesn't give a damn.
Yeah,
there you go.
The consumer side of me, like I'm a little worried about what this means for the future of game development in terms of how they're going to craft games. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? That's fucking 5-year problem. You know, like if this horribly destroys like how studios develop games to fit into Game Passing, how Netflix is kind of like giving us the best TV, but also ruined TV in terms of like, you're only going to get 8 episodes. We only do 3 seasons and all that stuff.
Hey,
but
then
like
it's BBC all over. That's what the BBC has been for years.
I'm sorry, like Josh, and you'll understand this more than Michael will, but when Angela can Google best kids Game Pass games and get 15 to 20 options and just tell Owen to play them, and he hops around from game to game to game, like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter to me. He's beat Ben 10 like 3 times.
Nice.
You know, so it is what it is. So, all right, Stefan Wren, a few questions for Josh. How are the Phillies, Bryce Harper's broken wrist, getting on this season?
Well, better than expected since they fired Girardi.
How's it? I love when teams fire their managers. I wish my team would fire them.
But he's got a retirement. He's got a retirement clause, and he likes to walk people with 2 strikes.
So he started. The new manager started playing the younger kids more and more, and they've been doing pretty well. So I mean, things are looking up, I will say, but they still have freaking Atlanta and the Mets in front of them. So
and they're Harperless right now for the season.
Yeah,
right?
but
he's done for the season.
Still
isn't
been
he?
Winning, you know. Well, I don't know. They're iffy on that, but probably I don't count on him coming back.
And his next question is, what position do you play when you play baseball?
Like real baseball or like fake baseball?
Both.
Real baseball, I haven't played in forever.
If you subbed for my softball team and I ask you where you play, where do you play?
Anywhere, really.
Okay.
Honestly, anywhere. I'm fine anywhere.
All right. Who is the most annoying player on the MLB?
Wow.
There's not
the Mets.
Annoying player.
The Mets as a whole.
The Mets. That's my answer.
New York.
Yeah. The Mets. That's my answer.
I'm about to say there's not really any like who was the catcher on the White Sox, Michael? That was
which one? Oh, AJ Brzezinski?
Yeah, there's not really any Brzezinski guys in the league right now. Like maybe
I mean you have the
maybe
entire
Javi
Houston
Baez
Astros.
right now. Like maybe Javi Baez.
Yeah, actually, the Astros is what I should have said.
Yeah.
Or George Brett. Wait. What?
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And then
that's the last time the Royals player met.
No, there's Bo
Tony
Jackson in there
LaRussa.
somewhere.
Yeah. Tony La Russa, who in his contract it says you have to kill me to fire me, and then it says, haha, I'm already dead. And it's like shit, we can't get rid of him.
You guys hired LaRussa, we got Hinch. I'll take it.
I know. Well, Hinch was a cheater, right? So I couldn't use him, I guess. I don't know. God, the White Sox are depressing. Just, ugh.
That's a shame. They were good last year, weren't they?
They were really fucking good.
2 years ago, they were really good. And but I mean, Josh, Josh, he did, and you'll appreciate this more than Michael. I don't remember the exact situation, but left-handed pitcher versus left-handed hitter. Got 2 strikes on the hitter. The guy stole second base. He walked him with 2 strikes, and the next guy hit a home run.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I saw
They're
that.
still having to explain like the overtime rules or the extra inning rules to him, where he was having issues being like, shit, if I take him out,
2
then
strikes on a guy, and he went analytical.
That was unbelievable.
He put Jose Abreu to be the second base runner, like pinch, like you can put Jose Abreu, who moves like a tank, like put him as like the runner on second base. like one time. It was just like, why are you doing this?
And then the last question: favorite PS5 game of this year?
Has there been a PS5 game this year?
Well, that's what's like going through my mind. I don't even know anymore what's a PS5 game and what's a PS4 game at this point. Like I would have said God of War, but that's a PS4 game, you know?
Yeah.
Horizon. Oh wait.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. So when I put the new PS5, because the other one's on the downstairs TV and it's a 3D old TV. The new one's upstairs on the 4K TV, and I was like, ooh, let me get all the PS5 specific games. And that's why, you know, the new PS Plus came in handy. I was like, ooh, I'll get the digital that, the digital that, the digital that. And I was just pulling everything and the PS5 copies of them. But
all that means right now is 60 frames.
But at better lighting, HDR, all that stuff, you know?
But if HDR was there already.
A difference.
Yeah, I mean, some of them got PS5 upgrades, but
I noticed a difference between the 4K TV and the old 3D plasma TV.
Right,
it's much darker and muted on the plasma TV compared to the.
Oh, we tried to watch. Angela and I tried to watch Obi-Wan Kenobi in our bedroom on a TV that's not HDR, and she was like 30 seconds in. She's like, "Nope, we got to go to the living room."
I had the same thing with Stranger Things because I had like my old TV in the bedroom. And we're like, "Oh, let's just watch it there." I'm like, the speakers suck, and I can't
she's
see
like,
anything.
she was literally like, "Nope." Like,
yeah, Ms. Marvel. I'm like, we're not watching it on that TV. We're watching it on the good one.
Yeah, yeah, we're enjoying Ms. Marvel as well. So,
but yeah, PS5 games, I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, I don't know. Not Dirt 5, because Dirt 5, I tried that because it was on, you know, it was one of those ones I could just freely download, and man, I hated it. I couldn't tell you right now. I don't know. I honestly.
Well, what's the game you've enjoyed the most this year so far? It doesn't have to come out this year. Like, what have you played the last 6 months that you like that comes to the top of your head?
Pitfall.
Pong.
Pac-Man. No.
Which Miss Pac-Man? The real Miss Pac-Man or the fake Miss Pac-Man? I don't know what's going on with that franchise.
Yeah, that whole thing. No, you know what? So the funny thing is with God of War, I started it years ago when it came out.
Okay.
And played for about a half hour and then just didn't have time for it and set it aside and never went back to it. I just went back to it like a couple of weeks ago, and I had a whole Sunday all to myself. Mm-hmm. Everybody was in Brooklyn, and I just sat there all day Sunday and played it for the full day and was really having a blast with it. So I'd say God of War for now.
Awesome.
Because I thought, you know what? The new one's coming. I really should kind of play through this.
I'm debating on restarting that one just because the new one's coming out, and it's been 4 years, so I might need to replay that.
I think that's the game I have on disc, so I can't do it. But no, I think it was part of some collection, PS Plus collection.
Yeah, it is this month.
Yeah,
so.
Okay.
But you know, I'm like one dumb trophy away from a platinum on the original God of War, or God of War 2, one of them. Or like 1 or 2 trophies away from platinum on both of them. I'm afraid to go back to those. And I just haven't done them.
Yeah.
Like the one is a speed run, and you can easily speed run it and beat it. And I just never went back and did it.
Like I know God of War 1, 2, and 3 had their own soundtrack, but when I think of them, like just Papa Roach plays in my head, and I just don't know if I can go back to that God of War. I can't see that Kratos again.
All right. I think that is our show. So thank you, Josh. Much appreciated you taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I am going on vacation in 2 weeks. So.
Okay. Well, oh, wait. I might be on vacation in 2 weeks. We'll have to figure out what time it is, when it is.
Like usually we were like the 24th, 25th.
We'll figure that out. Or I'll pull in some reserves.
Okay.
I have another Josh or two I can pull.
I don't think my internet, where I'm going, I don't think the internet will work. So
yeah, if that's when
enough,
we're away, then I can't.
All right. So the social stuff. So Josh, go ahead and go first with your Twitter that you don't really use.
PJF Josh, I think.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, at PJF.
I honestly don't. I don't know. I guess it is. Yeah.
And so the main account is at Digital Days Pod. Michael's is at the first MJC. Mine is at Good Dave Hunt. Facebook group, Discord server are in the show notes, like I mentioned previously. Patreon tier is in there also. Patreon will be getting an overhaul very shortly, partially because it needs it. So, and there'll be some minor changes to it. Nothing crazy. Like I'm not going to change tiers or anything like that, but what's in the tiers might change. So. And as always, suggestions please for Patreon. Michael and I are debating like a game of the month club, something on going back and forth between something on PS Plus and something on Game Pass.
I already know the first month.
Yep. So that's something that we're working on. So, but as always, suggestions are helpful, and I hope everyone has a great week. Josh, thank you again, appreciate it. Michael, thank you, and have a great week, guys. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.
Bye.